Oh, okay, well then, let's go ahead and start. Good morning, everyone. Let's go through the easy part of the schedule. The first thing is, does anything need to be added to the agenda right now?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, so that was we have a motion to approve. Was that you, Gail?
Yes, please.
And Barbara, you were our second. See, you guys you're already ahead of me. Next thing we have to do is approve the consent agenda, which consists of the January 26th, 2022 regular minute meetings, the current pending deposited gifts reports, and the statistical report as submitted or amended. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Sharon, yes. All right. Do we have any public comments? Okay, let's jump right into reports. Clay, I hear you're going to be our Friends representative. What do you got to say?
Quick notes. The Friends just had their executive board meeting. I know that their budget closed. They're on a little different fiscal year than the rest of the world. And they've decided to give a gift that's right around $2,000 this year to the library. And we absolutely got, we said we'd like to put that towards some reading program. They're going to do their first book drive this Saturday, the 26th. Ruth reminded us here that this is their first one in 2 years. Hard to believe. But
Oh,
they're going to
man.
be here 9 to 2 to accept donations. And that's in advance of their spring book sale, which will be Friday and Saturday, April 1st and 2nd. Library staff was most grateful in that the Friends of the Library decided to recognize Valentine's Day by sending all the libraries freshly baked cookies.
Oh,
That was a hit, to say the least. Their next meeting, which will be a full board meeting, is coming Wednesday, March 2nd. And that's basically a rundown of everything they have going on.
and thank you to all the Friends. Those are well done. The Library Foundation, Susan.
Good morning.
don't know.
The Foundation President John Almschneider will be reaching out to our pre-board retreat planning team. Hopefully this week. We are searching for a new date for the pre-board retreat, looking for early to mid-spring when all of us are more comfortable with in-person meetings. This evening, I would ask that you consider joining the foundation board member Don Treese Brown, who is going to be involved in this evening's RPL program, Halloween Monument Came Down. Registration, of course, is available on the library website, and if anyone is interested, I would be happy to send them a link. He will be in conversation with a member of Team Henry, which has been responsible for removing the monuments and the floods up and down. Related to grant activity, the foundation is looking forward to submitting a grant to the Virginia Museum of History and Culture early next week. It'll be a big one, so we hope that it will be viewed favorably. Either way, this is going to be a new 4A course, and so we're looking forward to that. It's a development of an effort that will support the strategic plan should that be. I'm also delighted to share that the Tuckahoe Women's Club is going to support RVA Leads with a $1,500 donation. I'm excited to go pick that up next month in person. So that is also a new group to us. Of course, if anybody has any other grants that they're aware of, please don't hesitate to bring them to my attention. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Scott, administrative report?
Just briefly, very little to add that's not in my report. From on the COVID-19 front, we've been restoring all of our furniture to the branches. So we pulled it out when it was really high in early January and now it started to return. So patrons will be able to spend longer time in locations. We'll start allowing people to reserve meeting rooms and study rooms. That's been happening at Maine all along, but in the branches, we'll be able to allow them to start signing up for meeting rooms. During the month of March, we'll resume program planning to start transitioning out of primarily virtual meetings to in-person meetings. And we'll see by April 1st whether we can restore story time and those things.
Great.
As
Great.
the COVID positivity drops, that's what we've really been monitoring in terms of
Great.
that. And hopefully opening up more in April. April also coincides with National Library Week. So a committee has formed and we're working on plans to do something to celebrate National Library Week, which is
Super.
the second week of April. You all received notification of the March 1st meeting, and I'll save some of those details for the Facilities Committee report. That meeting will be where we share the progress that's been made over the last year and a half on the Maine Library Master Plan. That notification went out in email. It went out in paper. It went to all of the, I believe, the Friends of the Library, the foundation. It went out on an email blast on the at-home edition
Yeah, yeah,
of the,
yeah.
and you'll notice there's signage at all the branches, so
Right.
posters are up and the postcards are out. So we're doing our best to get the message out. And so last I checked, we had about 80 reservations, and people can also leave comments on our website on the plan. So we're getting a lot of feedback, and we'll incorporate that into, the next steps of the facilities master plan for Maine.
You're also on TV too.
And
A couple of TV stations picked up.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I saw it on 6 and 12.
so that's great. Yeah,
Do we need to register or are we automatically?
you can register if you wish, but we'll just assume you're coming, or if you're on Zoom. If you register, you'll get the Zoom link. So
Okay.
we're really excited to share that, the images and kind of the feedback that we got and what was incorporated and the challenges that committee faced over the last year. It has not been an easy path, but I think we made some difficult decisions, and I'm hopeful that it will really answer the needs and wants of what the community would like to see in a Maine library.
May I just suggest that we call our council contacts to have that person put it on there,
I've contacted them and sent it to them,
a
so,
little reinforce. I haven't gotten one from Catherine, so I'll call her as well.
okay.
Yeah.
We'll send it to them again. That's all I have.
Okay. Bill is not here because his father died, and today is his funeral. I have a card I'm going to send around the room. I will mail it if each of you will just sign it and make sure at the end that I get it so I can take care of it. So we're going to go right to finance, and Scott, can you jump in for Garrett?
So at present, they are in the process of crafting the mayor's budget. I'll let you talk about some of your success in
Right.
advocacy. I've been providing information to the budget and finance portfolio for those things. But other than that, we're just kind of waiting to see what the mayor's preparing. The mayor had his state of the city a few weeks ago. I don't know if some of you saw that, but he listed some of his priorities. And so we'll see where we go from there. But, overall, I'm positive and hopeful.
Well, we'll give it a good try,
Yeah.
and next year we'll be a lot smarter. So, well, I personally will be a lot smarter, that's certain. Janet, facilities.
So I received a postcard at my home with this beautiful rendering of a new library, and I was so excited. It was as if I'd never been involved in it. It made it real. And I checked here in February, my comment was that we were very disappointed in the, whatever had happened up until that date, but now we're not disappointed.
Yeah.
We're excited. I hope everyone is excited. Of course, there's still a lot of details to work out. And Gail is on top of those. She's excellent at spotting weird things that the architects have written and oh, I had a thought in my head and it went right out of my head. So I hope all of you were excited to see the rendering and to come to the March 1st meeting. Am I missing? What am I missing? I feel like I'm missing something big. What is?
So that image kind of details what the exterior will look like. We have 2 more renderings that will be revealed at that meeting that'll show you kind of interior, what the design for that could possibly look like. And will also lead to a lot of answers about, well, why does it look that way? You know, what kind of issues did you consider in the process of developing that image? And what are some of the major goals and objectives? And you know, the goals and objectives align very well with our strategic plan that you all reviewed this afternoon or this morning. So that's is a very positive and refreshing way to proceed. So we've had almost 10 meetings. We've had a lot of back and forth with the
I
architect.
can't remember. When did we start?
We started in May of last year, I
Because it
believe.
seems a lot longer.
Yes, it does. Yeah. Well, we awarded the contract in December, and it took about 60 days to get a contract worked out.
Okay.
So that's kind of, we've been working with these folks for a long time, just to get to a point of like what the scope of work would be and where we'll go. So what you're going to see is about a 30% design. It's not complete. There's still room for more information and feedback, and that's what we want to gather. You know, we're hoping that people see the direction that we wish to go and how it matches their needs and inspires them to support it, you know, because it will take a significant investment of the city to achieve that design. But I think we can get it done.
Okay.
So what I hope that we can do out on March 1st is the people who say, what about X or what about Y? That we'll be able to answer those. Because we really did touch on every possibility.
Yeah.
Trees.
Trees.
We
Spent
spent
a long time on trees.
Yes, a lot of time on.
If no one
trees.
asked about the library park, I'm going to be upset.
Yeah. And our dream would be, it would be a net zero or net positive building. So it would not be a building that would contribute to the environment.
Right,
The
but
sustainability
we
issues,
wanna
which
fight
are
for
front and
that,
center of
yeah.
the city.
And
Yeah.
lots
So,
of green spaces.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's an exciting vision. And I
Mhm.
think it's really, wonderful to be able to share it and accept more feedback and gather support from it. So that's really the next steps. And then we'll finalize it. There'll be a more formal kind of master planning, but this really is the second step of a process that started in 2009. And Gail was on that committee when we crafted the facilities master plan, and it said phase 1 will be to address all of the branch libraries and address all of the IT, the technology issues, the kind of the infrastructure issues. You know, we had roofs that needed to be replaced, HVACs that needed to be done, carpet that needed to be replaced because they all were kind of built at the same
Right.
time and they were all
Right.
falling apart at the same
Right.
time. So many of those issues were addressed and we went through that whole process. It took longer than we expected. The city wanted to do 2 buildings a year and they couldn't do it because, you know, they had to build a jail and they had to build some schools. So that
Mhm.
pulled on resources.
Mhm.
So we completed that in 17 with West End as our last branch library. I stopped there on the way back today from visiting Bill's tragedy. And that library still looks great, but it's time to address this library. We did some technology infrastructure, but this vision for the next 50 years of Richmond Public Library, I think will be something hopefully people can get behind.
Right. Okay.
Did I leave anything out, Gail?
No, I guess just for Janet and for me, I shouldn't speak for Janet. May we see the slides before Tuesday?
I hope so. I'm working on the agenda for that meeting, and we're going to outline the expectations of what Steinberg, Hart, and KEI are supposed to present. They need to show us a wonderful space for children, because we need to hit early childhood literacy. It needs to be welcoming, so access is one of those key issues in our strategic plan. Addressing access, what is this building going to look like? How are we going to enter it? How is it going to welcome people? Lifelong learning, what are the spaces in the building that are going to promote lifelong learning? And I think most interestingly, uniquely Richmond will be represented in the culture and historical spaces that'll be able to exhibit our story. So those are things that they're going to need to hit. And I want them to show like what that could possibly look like, maybe what other libraries have done with technology and those things. So they need to give those inspirational images of what we want to see. So we are preparing that agenda, and we're going to tell them to fill in the blanks with pictures and images, and also help us tell the story of how we got here. So that's really the overview of the meeting, and that's what I'm hoping we can accomplish.
Can I ask, what kind of contract is this? Is this a fixed price or a task order or a master agreement? Do you remember?
It was kind of a fixed price.
Okay.
And after we settled the contract, they wanted to do a lot more like à la carte,
Mhm.
and the city didn't have the capacity to add those things in. So they worked up to that certain price and delivered us a design based on what the RFP stipulated.
Right, okay,
So
okay.
we can have them, for example, if they're.
No, I'm just wondering, Gail did a great deal of their work for them.
Yes.
And that's because Gail is a good person. I am not a good person. I would have said, this has got to be, don't give me this.
Yeah.
So Gail,
We've done that.
Yeah.
The issue is seeing the final product,
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
but it was certainly a team effort.
I think what you said, Scott, about this is phase 2.
Yeah.
I think it's important for people to understand that this idea didn't just pop up.
Right.
Right, yeah.
It's
important.
part of a
Exactly.
long-term plan. And logically now it's time to do this building. So
Right. This wasn't something that Scott dreamed up or the library board of trustees dreamed
Right.
up because we wanted a new building. This was part of a long-term
Yeah.
strategy that was started in 2009.
Mhm.
And that original facilities master plan was very well done.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe their assessments and their directions were great. I think the strategy was excellent to address the branches, but they said, hey, look, the main library is just too big of a something to bite off at this time. And so when you complete this first phase, your second phase needs to be address main library, but also we need to visit all of our branches. That was the other part of phase 2, was to visit every single branch and say, okay, Belmont branch is only 5,000 square feet. That neighborhood, maybe they need a different kind of building. And how do we do that? Does it stay there?
Mhm,
Do we go up? Do we extend the
Mhm.
footprint? Or do we move Belmont branch?
mhm.
I'm just using Belmont branch as an example.
Right,
I'm not saying
right.
that that's what's going to happen, but I do think it's a good idea for us after 15 years to go back and revisit
I couldn't
all
agree
of those
more.
locations and say, yeah, we need study rooms.
Mhm.
Yeah, the library of 15 years ago is not the library of today.
Right.
So
Right.
collections maybe need to come down, electronic infrastructure needs to be, IT needs to be addressed. So that will be the next step of that's phase 2 of phase 2. So,
Okay, thank you, and thank you all. You worked really hard. Anything else? No? Okay, governance, Emily.
Yes, I have 2 brief updates. So Brent's term is set to expire in June of this year, but he has agreed to be reappointed to this term. This will be his first full term since he had started in a kind of the end of another member's term who had resigned. The other minor update is just that we are set to, we appoint our officers every 2 years. So we're next set to do that June 2022. I'll be reaching out to current officers to get a temperature check from them, probably pretty soon. And then you won't see me in April, but I'll be reaching out again to get confirmation, or if anyone doesn't want to stay in their position, then reaching out to others about potential replacements. So if anyone has any questions about that, please feel free to reach out to me. Otherwise, if you're on my list, I'll send you an email soon.
Emily, can I ask you to stay center stage when we talk about the strategic plan? Because
Absolutely.
you really are the one who knows.
Sure.
So that being our committee reports, we're going to go to our two big initiatives. And the first one is the strategic plan. Emily, tell us what you know.
Sure. So we've been working on this strategic plan since what, December? Well, this version of the strategic plan. So I'll say Scott and his team came with the first draft. Wasn't quite what we had envisioned. So we had some ideas and have been working together on kind of the new version, a little bit more streamlined with kind of a more of a outward facing community and council audience. This time I feel really proud of the plan that we have now. And I mean, I'm really excited about approving it. I hope that we can do that for this meeting. We have, I wasn't prepared with summary notes, but you all hopefully have had a chance to read it. We have kind of 5 main focus areas, the first of which being access, specifically hours, and then several other goals beneath that. Let's see, what else to say? Are there any questions from having read it?
This is the time to ask your questions or make sure we know about things that are troubling you, because the next thing we're going to do is we're going to vote to approve the strategic plan. So ponder and speak. A group oriented toward consensus. I love it.
I thought it was really easy to follow. I like also how using this as a tool, the letters that went to the mayor and to the other council persons use the same material, and it used it in a way that I thought made it seamless, so that anyone looking at what we were doing, both with advocacy and with this, could see a straight line in terms of what we think the direction for the library should be. But I thought it was well done. And it also I like the fact that it included the language of the mayor. You know, you can't go wrong if someone is giving you what you say that you want for your city. So I thought that was all really powerfully done.
I always like votes from the public too.
Yeah.
Mhm. Excellent job, everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, are we ready to vote? Could I have a move to approve the 2022-2027 strategic plan as submitted? Have a
I
motion?
move.
Janet? Do I have a second?
I'll second, please.
Second, Gail?
Gladly.
All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Raise your
Aye.
hand.
Aye.
Yes, okay. Anyone opposed? All right. Good job.
Good job, congratulations.
Good job. Good job. I echo Emily. This is a document we will be able to use for the next year. I am super, super pleased. It was worth the extra couple months.
Tied everything together very nicely.
So the next thing we're going to do is talk about advocacy. And I'm going to start telling you what we've done with the administration. Then we're going to go around the room and just have individuals who've had a chance to reach their council people, talk about what they learned. I will tell you, I've gotten a chance to see the notes of several, and it is such a learning experience for me that I want to make sure that we all get a chance to group-wise get smarter on all of this. Administration. We, at the suggestion of our council people, I might add, did two things. One, Bill sent a letter to Mayor Stoney that addressed the financial needs. It's in your package at page 20. I sent a letter to Stoney, to Mr. Saunders, the CAO, and to Mr. Gordon, the
DCO.
head of where the library reports, and that was what I do, which is not the numbers, but the heart and soul of what the library can do. Just as Barbara said, help the mayor get what the mayor wants. Those have both been shockingly acknowledged. I didn't expect anyone to read them, so kudos to the administration for paying attention. Are there other things? Did we get a chance to meet with, I wasn't with Reggie? Did that meeting take place or
We were supposed
not?
to meet with Reggie, but Bill wasn't able to because
Okay.
he got COVID and
Yeah.
then his father passed away.
Okay, okay,
So,
okay.
but Reggie is very supportive of the library.
Okay. We don't want him
informed him.
surprised.
No, he's
We,
not been surprised. Nope.
Okay.
I gave him a heads up on, he has a copy of the letters and I've answered any questions he has.
okay,
He understands the need and
Okay.
is doing his best to answer any questions administration may have or council may have
great.
with us. So
Great, great, good. I just want everyone on the same page. We were told by council people, Janet was told, I was told, Barbara was told, that the first thing we had to do was talk to the administration. Next year, we'll do better at that. But we got it started this year. So now I'm just going to call on the leads for council people. If you've had a chance to do something, I'm going to take notes and then I'll send it all around with some themes. If you haven't gotten a chance, no harm, no foul, just tell us where things are in progress. And we're going to start with Gail.
Oh, boy. Chris and I spoke with Catherine Jordan, and her first comment was, she said, remind me, there isn't a library in the second district, is there? Which is true. There used to be, the main library used to be part of the second until it was redistricted at one point to Ellen's district. But she said she's very supportive of the library. There's a lot going on in the second district with the stadium, now Fox School tragedy. But she is supportive. We mentioned this $8 million figure, and her response was, as Chris said, you need to start with administration for that she can't do anything, which I don't agree that she can't do anything, but she certainly needs to be aware of it. Eventually there'll be council involvement in the budget. So I think it was a positive meeting. We kept it short and to the point, and promised that she's certainly welcome to call us for anything.
So we followed up with a thank you note,
Yeah.
and Scott told me that at the last council meeting, it was Catherine who said the library needs a good budget this time. So it's possible this is going to be helpful.
Yeah,
It's
that's right.
possible.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gail. Barbara.
Yes, okay, I'm in the third district and I decided to start with the manager. So I met with Carrie at Interpark, which was great. I thought about what you had said about going to meet the managers, and I'm sorry now that I didn't take advantage of doing that, but it was really great talking to her and getting a perspective of a person who's been with the library
Mhm.
for a long time and who's been in other libraries around the country. And then I also met with Diane over at North Avenue. So, and Diane went with me to the meeting. I extended the invitation to both of the managers to go with me. But Carrie wasn't able to go, but she had given me all her information. Meeting with Anne Francis Lambert was really good. And she also kind of took the position that she would be supported, but she also was kind of the same place that she felt like there wasn't a way that she couldn't like introduce it. I guess it's the issue. But she and her liaison, suggested that we really needed to start early. She really felt, their suggestion was, to start maybe even as early as September, but I
Right.
don't know when our budget is prepared to start having those
Right.
meetings so
Yeah.
that while the mayor is planning, he can hear what we need and be able to change and look at his numbers differently. The other thing was, is sometimes it's teasing out what are the projects that they're interested in, and Lambert's projects do have to do with children, so hit really hard, the needs of our schools, the needs of our kids in this pandemic time, pandemic learning. And also she's really into issues for the homeless, and the library, whatever we think or whether we know that this is a safe place both for children and for adults. So she was very, very supportive, and she said that she would support it in any way that she could.
And you did it exactly right. And a thank you to Diane for helping. Janet.
Yes, I met with Tori Nunley, manager at Western Hills. And I just want to say that she's a great representative for the library, and say hi, because she's probably watching this, So we had a good talk before we met with Kristen and I, and we agreed we would focus on access. That limited access keeps us from meeting all of our other goals.
Right.
And we wanted the meeting to be positive. So Kristen came and we had a really good meeting with her. She had good questions, which Tori was able to answer. I'm so grateful that she had all the facts and figures and all the details that were needed. And I don't know if this is unusual, but right during the meeting, Kristen and I said, I'm going to give you $1,000 to Tori.
Wow.
The council people have discretionary money.
Whoa.
So I don't know if that's an everyday occurrence or not.
Well, Catherine didn't offer us any money.
That
Because
was
we don't
pretty
have a
cool.
library in her district. So,
And I
yeah.
think it's because Tori did such a good job of expressing how much better we could be with more access.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
So it was a good meeting. I like Bill's letter that he wrote, and Chris, the thing that you wrote. I feel like we have some momentum. I hope that's true.
I hope it is too. I hope it is too. Clay, can you pass on our thank you to Tori and to Diane for their help in all of this? All right. Emily.
Yes, so I reached out to Stephanie Lynch and Amy Robbins, her liaison. They were not available to have a meeting
Okay.
before March, I think 11th is the day that they offered.
Okay.
So I did respond with an email kind of summarizing our ask this year.
Okay.
I was pleased when I saw Bill's version because I felt like I got the assignment right in my summary
Yeah.
of, so yeah, I haven't heard back since then, but
Okay.
I'll look forward to meeting with them on the 11th.
So you are on for March 11th.
They haven't sent me a time yet. but
Yeah.
That was the day.
Yeah,
Yes.
maybe, yeah.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, Garrett isn't here. Do we know, does anyone heard if Garrett has met with anyone?
I think he said he was meeting with Ellen, and I don't know how I know that. At the last meeting, I think he said that.
Yeah, you did.
He does have
Okay.
requests.
So I will follow up with Garrett because he was doing Ellen and Michael Jones and send you each anything that I'm able to learn from him. Okay, Sharon, were you able to get hold of Cynthia?
I was unable to arrange a personal meeting, so
Okay.
I decided to go through a third party.
All right.
Cheryl Burke is the school board representative and also best friends with Cynthia. And so.
Oh, aren't you the smart one?
So Cheryl approached her and she said she had not been approached by anyone, regarding the library. So I wrote her a nice little letter
Okay,
with a request that she, consider it and forward it to the mayor. So Cheryl hand delivered her my letter.
okay, all right. Brent,
Yes, I have not caught up with Reva Trammell or her liaison Rick Bishop yet.
okay,
When does this city council member getting involved in the budget? Is that,
it's after March
After.
4th, right?
Yeah,
I'll
so
let-
the mayor prepares his budget, then council reviews it with their staff, and they can make amendments to the budget. And in the past, when they make amendments to the budget, they have to make corresponding cuts. So if they increase anything, they have to cut something. If they decrease something, they can raise it up. So that's usually how the process has gone in the past. I don't know, I'm assuming that will be the same thing, but it could change. So after March 4th, that's when the mayor will give him what he has developed with
so after March 4th is when city council gets involved?
yep,
Okay,
yep.
well, I'll go back to Reva and see if I can get through.
Okay, so how are we all feeling? It's all, I mean, this is our first time through in a long time. I've learned a lot. We'll be better next year, but I think we're doing pretty well this year. What do you guys think? Especially when you hear from a council person that no one's talked to them about the library. Holy cow.
Could I just say, add to your notes that I think Bill's summary was used, the talking points were
Right.
useful in preparation for, at least it's reminding me.
Yeah.
And I think they need some tweaking, but they'll be useful for next year as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, yes, okay, I think we all agree talking points were an excellent, yeah. Because I'm kind of evaluating not only to keep us moving now, but so that we do even better next year. So talking points, good.
I think the other thing, I thought it also was helpful for us to be visible to our council people. So our council people kind of know that there are people in their district who are, I think they know that there are persons in the district who serve on certain boards and committees, but for them to have a sense of who we are and that our willingness is, yes, we need your support for the library, but also a willingness to be supportive in the district in any way that we can as well. And also it kind of gives us a inside track to also know what are some of the projects that the council persons are really committed to, because they all have something that they're working for, either something district-wide or something citywide or something that they're keenly interested in. So it helps us to kind of be able to tailor what it is we're asking of them based upon some of that information too.
Right.
So, and I think it's easier to make an ask when somebody knows who you are.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Relationships are, yeah.
Important, so
Yeah,
important.
they really, really are. Scott, can I ask you to kind of tell us what process-wise happens with the budget once it goes to council? Do they deliberate for several months? Do we need to begin to think about what happens and what would you guess would be our next steps in an advisory kind of capacity?
So the next step is, like I said, the March 4th date is the date that the budget will be turned over to city council. Council has in the past had administrative staff who will review the budget and work with city administration and finance to identify those places where reductions can be made or increases can be made.
Right.
And that process goes on for 60 days easily. I believe they have to
60
have.
days.
There's a calendar on their website. of
Yeah.
their meetings.
Okay,
They usually establish that calendar and it goes for like at least 4 weeks. Now, there are some drop dead dates.
okay,
One of those dates is they have to have a school budget by, I think sometime in April or May. I can't remember. If we look at the calendar, it will tell us.
Okay,
So because the school's budget takes up approximately half of the city's
of
budget.
course, well, of course
Right.
it does.
And
yeah.
so that's the kind of the big,
Right.
it's the
Yeah,
big
no,
driver
of course,
of
yeah.
everything. And so once they have that kind of established,
Okay,
then the other pieces will fall into
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
And so that will take place through March and April. I believe that sometimes in May, but I can check that for the board, and I'm happy to provide you that calendar. They kind of set that calendar based on their calendars.
right,
And then some years they've had department heads come and talk about their budgets.
okay,
In the last few years, they've directed their questions at the budget and CAO's office to provide answers, that's what I'm used to seeing. But it all depends.
okay,
So
okay.
Will we know how much Stony has asked for the library?
we won't know until March 4th.
Yeah, but we'll know after March 4th.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
Right,
That's
right. Okay, so let's do this as our next step. I will summarize all of the meetings to date and send it to each of you personally. Once we get the calendar and the line item that the library gets, so after March 4th, I'll send that information to each of you personally. Our next meeting, I want your advice and your ideas as to how we proceed. Okay? So that will be the topic of advocacy. What are our next steps? Because then we've laid the groundwork with council. Now, how do we then move forward? And what do you need from Scott and me to make that happen? Does that seem reasonable to everyone? So Brent, jump on it, see if you can get in, so that you don't have to get in tomorrow, but you
Right.
want the groundwork
Right.
of a relationship because there's more to come. All right. Good. Thank you. I'm glad you did so well. Any questions, any concerns? Everyone pleased with the way strategic plan advocacy is going? I'm personally delighted. Okay, we're going to move on to new business. And this is an issue that I put forward after attending an ALA symposium on censorship. So I don't think censorship is an issue that's going to smack us in the face. But based on this seminar, I think it's something we should just be ready, make sure our ducks are all in a row. The seminar talked about governance to you, Emily, that we need to make sure we vet our board members carefully so that we understand their position on censoring or banning books. And that the best protection against banning books and censorship is a strong policy. So I asked Scott to give us what our current policy is on censorship. Again, not because I think there's a threat, but if you can be prepared for something, why wouldn't you be prepared for it? And I'm going to ask him to talk to us a little bit about what it involves, what happens on the floor, how often it is reviewed and updated. And then if we have questions, we can ask our questions. So Scott, I'm going to turn it over to you.
So censorship is one of those bread and butter issues that libraries deal with, and public libraries deal with it all the time. It's something that we protect and defend against, because I'm going to guarantee you there are books in that collection that you love, and there are books that you find in that collection that are going to be offensive to you. And that pretty much is our job, providing people access to information. I don't judge people, but I do make sure that we have the information that they want. And if I say that Gail's information isn't worthy and Sharon's is, now we're on a slippery slope. And so we're constantly defending about that. And I will say that the first line of defense for your censorship issues is your collection development policy.
Mhm.
And I'll say that I think the Richmond Public Library collection development policy is very deliberate and thoughtful in the way we select and deselect items. It's covered all of those different points, and I believe it is very even-handed, and it addresses many of the concerns that have typically come up when I've encountered censorship issues or I've had a book challenge. In my 30 years of library work, I've seen challenges. We're going through like, it goes in peaks and troughs. We're having a time of challenges to books. If you've seen the news, we have lots of issues that are divisive in our country. And one of the things that happens is people start saying what people can read or what they can't read. And that's a problem that's counter to democracy. And let me, our public library is one of those foundational pillars of democracy. So when you say we need to make sure we are educating our board members who serve on this board right here that protects our libraries, that's a fundamental piece, because if you
That's
don't
part of
believe it,
governance, yeah.
if you don't believe in that as a person who sits in governance on this board, that is going to be a problem. So it's all a matter of consideration when it comes to how we address subjects and controversial subjects in our policy, in our materials collection policy. And I will stand behind our collection development policy. It was one of the first things I did when I came in as a library director, is review the collection development policy and assess how it handled those situations, because as a library director, you're always thinking about, okay, what happens if? And so our policy does an excellent job of explaining how we select things, and that will help us defend when we have a question about things in our collections. Then you need to have a policy for how you deal with folks who have a concern about something in your collection. That's
Right.
always how to address it, is they have an opinion and you need to be considerate of their opinion. You don't have to agree with their opinion, but you need to be considerate and thoughtful when you take in their consideration of an item in the collection. So our policy very kind of details that process of how somebody comes in and has a challenge, how we deal with it. We also have the form. So the form is never the first thing you lead with when you have somebody who comes in and has a challenge about a book. Clay can attest, and our managers all understand that. And Janet probably has had people as a branch manager come in and say, I can't stand this book. This book is just filthy. And you have to be considerate of them, and you listen and you go, well, what is your concern? Do you understand? What is your issue with it? And so you go through that. And I would say 90% of the time, 95% of the time, they just want to let you know that they had a problem with the book and you are considerate of them. And then you explain that, yes, you may hate this book, but Janet may love the book. So our job is to provide the information. So that's kind of the way the transaction, and the information that is in this packet kind of details that. It's really important that you're considerate and thoughtful and be receptive of customer feedback. It's just like if we ran any other sort of business, somebody complained about a product, we would consider what they're saying and try and do our best to make it right. But there are certain limits to what we can do because of our collection development policy and how we do things. So that's the process. If it does get to the form, if someone is so upset about an item in the collection, they complete the form. It comes to our collection development librarian, and that collection development librarian will do research on it and explain how the item conforms with our policy, how it meets the need, how it was selected and why it was in there. I will say I have had a challenge once where someone challenged a book, and we did remove it from the collection because it was an item that did not conform with our collection development policy. It was of prurient interest, and it wasn't selected by a librarian. So it didn't meet our community standards, and it really was outside of what we did. So we did remove the book from the collection. It was the one of the few times that I've had to do that. But more often than not, I've had to defend items. I've only had to do it maybe 3 times in my 30-year career. But the form really covers the issue. And when it gets to the form, often after you go through the process and you sit down with the person and you explain to them why the book is in the collection, they gather an understanding of it and they walk away and they go, well, thank you, that makes sense.
Right.
I'm confident this policy will cover that. We do review it, and I will review it with staff again because
Okay.
we're having that wave of complaints from the public. Fairfax had an issue where staff did a display that was, it was unfortunate. It wasn't incorrect, but it was unfortunate, and it got amplified. It was, as you know, people can tweet something out and it will go to Fox News, and now they are in the spotlight dealing with something that was, in many ways, they weren't wrong, but someone is always looking for an opportunity to take a wedge issue and make it bigger. They were able to like weather that. And I think other news pushed it out of the way, but they had to stand behind that policy and address the problem. So often it is the way you handle that interaction. I was telling Chris, we had a banned book. Banned Book Week is a very popular time to celebrate libraries. We talk about books that are banned, and we talk about your right to read and those things. So we did a display that had the Bible in it, the Koran in it, Catcher in the Rye, the usual books that end up on those lists. The staff put banned stickers on front of them. So we had a minister come in, and the minister was very upset because he thought we were actually getting rid of it. Staff tried to explain that to this person, but they did not accept it. And they went out and they put it on their Facebook and they shared it with their parishioners. And we were getting calls and complaints. It actually went to ALA office in Washington, D.C. that this was going to go to a national level, that we were banning the Bible in one of the little areas that we served. We were able to explain the policy, and that the county manager was able to say that, no, the library is not banning it. We're demonstrating how the book you may love gets banned and you didn't mean to. So those are some of the situations we deal with. Our policy, I believe, does a very fine job of addressing it, but it does take that constant vigilance and training. And it takes training for all levels. Like they may walk up to a page and say, you need to get rid of this book. And if the page says, no, we don't do that, everyone needs to know when someone challenges something, we have to take it seriously. So that's my quick 10-minute overview of that. I hope I haven't happy to answer any questions on it.
Have you ever had an instance where, say, an author insists that their book be put in the library? And
oh yeah,
I mean,
yeah, we have with the growth of writing, like everyone writes now. So you can write your story and you can have Amazon publish it for you. You can get an electronic copy, and then you can make print copies and you could start selling it. Well, in our collection development policy, we'll say, you may have written a nice book, but where is it reviewed? So books that clear certain hurdles and are reviewed at a certain national level, those are the things that we take in consideration before we add a book to the collection. And we also look at it in terms of subject matter. If the subject matter, if it doesn't align or it's not, of a certain level, that we're not going to add it to the collection, even if you donate it to us. It may not fit our collection development policy. If it's not reviewed in Library Journal or Publishers Weekly or any of the major publications where authors are recognized, and if it's not containing accurate, if it's not containing information that has proven to be accurate, we can't put that in the collection. Now, do we put controversial things in the collection that are opinion? Absolutely. But if you're representing something that's not accurate and not presenting it as opinions, that's totally different. So it's the difference between fiction and nonfiction.
I'm just wondering, we have a form for this, but is there a process that, is in writing for people who do that?
Yeah,
or is it-
that's the collection development policy.
Okay, so all they have to do is come and say, I want you to put my book here and.
Yep. And what we say is we'll absolutely
We'll
consider
review
it. We'll look at our collection development policy and see if it fits. And if it does, we would add it to the collection. If it doesn't, we may not add it to the collection.
So are there any reconsideration requests pending?
No.
Good.
I think since I've been here, we had one person raise a question about an item and staff could have handled it in the field, but they handed them the form first. So then we took action. Once they fill out the form, we take action.
Yeah, follow
So
the process.
that was reviewed and we explained to them that the item I can't even remember now what it was. It's been, I think, at least 4 years. But we were able to resolve with them and explain to them that we followed our collection development policy, that it was a book that was being checked out a lot. It was popular. Many other people liked it. So we wouldn't remove it from the shelf. And they were satisfied with that response.
I was very pleased to see how robust the policy is. I'm very, but my question is about the availability of the policy to the public. So if someone was interested and wanted to see the collection development policy, is that something that they would just be able to request? Would they have to do a FOIL request, or is there some?
Oh, no, it's on the
Google it.
website.
It's on the website?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's on the
I couldn't
website.
find it when I Googled, but that was
It-
maybe just me.
It's under, if you go to about
Policies?
the
Hmm.
library, it's under the library board of trustees. They're all listed there.
Yeah.
That's where we pulled this when we brought it up. Now, we did update the form. Jonna updated the form because it had the old logo on it and we added, if people wanted to make a comment on a digital resource or a game or something like that, we added these check boxes. So we have updated this form. But yeah, I have all of our policies on, it's really important that we have all of the policies on the website. It's under the foundation. I think maybe it's not easy to find, but the form is there, everything's there. And then the strategic plan, that'll get placed up there. It's really important for us to be as transparent as we can on all of our policy. And if there's something that's not there, let me know because we'll put it up.
That's great. Thank you.
So when the strategic plan is ready to go, will it be shared somewhere that people can easily see it, or does it go in with the other policy?
Well, Phil is our web designer and I've already asked him to
Yay,
start
Phil.
preparing a draft of the page. So once this is approved, it'll go up. And I will include the document, the external document. And then we put the dashboard up. You know, you recall that we reviewed the dashboard. There'll be an internal document that will be the action list for how we're going to implement the strategic plan. And I'd like to, some of the quotes that were in the strategic plan were directly from a video that we did a few years ago during National Library Week. And those are actual quotes from patrons and you can see them. So I want to put that video up there too, because the website and especially the page for our Board of Trustees is a tool for you all to use in your advocacy, or if someone is questioning something, here, what is the library about? So there's nothing that tells the story better than a video. So I want to put those videos up there along with the strategic plan because it definitely addresses the need that we're trying to fulfill as a library and it helps you advocate. So it's just like this collection development policy. It has to be out there because if somebody has a question, I want to be able to point to it and say, well, you know, we select these children's books. Here's the policy and here's what we take into consideration. If we're not following it, awesome. You let us know and we'll fix that problem. Just like the story I told you about how we pulled that book out that didn't match it, wasn't reviewed by a librarian and got it in the collection and shouldn't have been in the collection.
I want to know how it got there.
What's that?
I want to know how it got there.
So what happened was we had patrons that could do direct requests for books. And a librarian wasn't reviewing the request in conjunction with the collection development policy. So it was outside of our collection development policy. So I could not defend it because it was of prurient interest is the nicest way that I can put it.
But it
And
got all the way through catalog.
yes, it did. And so that was another problem that got addressed. Yep.
Other questions? I have two comments. One, at your own time, if you will update the date.
Okay, yeah,
You'll review it, but I don't want something to show 2012.
right.
I want it to show 2022. So if you'll do the review and the update, however you do that as a preventative prophylactic
Yep.
situation in your own time, that would be great. The second thing is, if it's appropriate, I love our strategic plan so much. If you wanted to do a press release saying
Oh, yeah.
we've just deliberated as the Board of Trustees, and this is the new, people may have trouble going to the board and finding it. This is a document I think we're all delighted with. We want people to look at it. It's part of our advocacy. It's part of our moving forward. We're ready for the light to shine on us, and all things that are, again, your call, appropriate, we'd like done. Let me speak for all of us for the strategic plan. Fair enough?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Is it appropriate to send something about it to social media?
Yeah. I wanted to get it approved and have the final version
Right.
and your blessing, this board's blessing on it before we proceed.
Yeah.
And it's just like those plans. I can review them, but I want you all to review them. And so
Right.
I'm not going to go in and say that I've reviewed them without
Right.
your
Right.
authority. So
Right.
I'm happy to do that.
Right, so if I could, I will look at this. Could I have a librarian, Janet or Emily, take a look at this too in the next month? If you see anything that troubles you, let me know, or Scott directly. And then next month, we'll just check that off the
Sure.
list.
I'd be happy to.
Reasonable? Okay.
That's a big help.
Are we ready to adjourn? Is there anything anyone else would like to comment on? Okay. Do I need a motion, Jonna, to adjourn?
No,
All
You
right.
reached the end of your agenda? and there's
I've
nothing
reached the
major?
end of my agenda. See everyone next month. Good job.
Good job, Chris.
Never forget, once I was at a Prince George meeting, they couldn't get a second to adjourn a meeting.